It looks like Blake Lively is done. Megyn Kelly has been on the warpath to expose every lie Blake has ever told, and the evidence that she's laying out just destroyed Blake's case.
I will happily participate in releasing any further leaks that they have because the truth should be out there. What does she have to fear if she's telling the truth?
But you can rest assured that based on the investigation we've done, the text messages we have, the receipts that'll go along with that complaint, she's dead in the water.
Megyn Kelly is using her own lawyer to bring crucial evidential receipts to the table that proves once and for all that Blake has been lying and twisting the truth right from the start. But Blake's reasons might be far more sinister and narcissistic than anyone could ever imagine.
Blake Lively was no victim here. She was in control, she was in power, and she took over this film.
From using her bestie Taylor Swift and her husband Ryan Reynolds to intimidate Justin Baldoni, to threatening producers that she would boycott the film if her absurd demands weren't met.
She was such a brat that she wanted to control every scene, wanted to see all the dailies, wanted to do her own cut and did her own cut of the movie. All this is very unusual for just an actress in the film, even if she's the lead, and that she's now tried to turn this whole thing into a PR victory for her to get past what appears to be the fact that she is an egotistical.
Y'all, as we are seeing now, this goes much deeper than just a simple lawsuit. It seems Blake had an evil master plan right from the start. By now, we all know Blake Lively has sued Justin, accusing him of harassment and for planting a smear campaign against her. Since then, Justin has sued back, also claiming that Blake has launched a smear campaign against him. But this story goes a lot deeper than you realize. So before we can look at all the newly leaked evidence, we have to take a deep dive into where it all started. Because as I say, it seems Blake had an evil plan right from the start, as we are now learning. The whole thing started long, and I mean long before it all became a public feud. It goes all the way back to when Blake's reputation went up in a blaze of public condemnation. And no, it had absolutely nothing to do with Justin Baldoni, as she has claimed. It was all her own little miss me attitude that had turned her fans against her. Let me explain. During interviews to promote her and Justin's film, It Ends With Us, people quickly started to catch an iffy vibe from Blake. Curious fans were quick to dig up old interviews of Blake, and oh boy, people were disgusted with what they found.
As often happens when these stars drop a movie, people start digging around for other interviews of them, etc. And it was just sort of a course of, wow, like, she seems like kind of a jerk. Wow, she's like kind of a bully. She's rather mean.
So to rescue her public perception, she hopped on her defensive horse and she blamed Justin and his PR team for planting negative stories about her. And as part of her Please Love Me Again strategy, Blake did a New York Times piece to shift focus from herself onto Justin, to make him look like the real monster and her like a victim. Only problem is, there's now concrete proof that the New York Times manipulated text messages and left crucial details out of text messages to deliberately paint Justin in the worst light possible.
They literally were removing text in between text and emojis to sort of make it sound worse.
But hold up, doesn't this sound just all a bit too familiar?
She has made herself into the new Amber Heard, and he is the new Johnny Depp.
Remember how Amber Heard did the exact same thing to Johnny Depp in 2018 with the snub piece about him in the Sun newspaper, where she also painted him as a monster and herself as a victim? I mean, Amber even came out of hiding to show her support for Blake, but Blake made a huge mistake to take a page out of Amber's playbook. I mean, remember how dismally it all ended for Amber?
Now he's going full Johnny Depp on her to show that she was the bully, she was the one hurting him, and this guy who had, comparatively very little power was forced now to come out and tell the truth about Blake Lively.
Like Amber, Blake's biggest mistake was to think that her fans are stupid and that we are all idiots. Because even though she says Justin and his PR team are trying to make her look bad in interviews, well, I'm sorry, but we all have eyes and we can see. We can see how rude she is to interviewers.
But he would, so he'd suddenly start filming my hands or my feet. But what was interesting is that to him in that moment, my hands were telling so much more of the story than my face. And I had to be so much more, it was sort of chicken or the egg. I don't know if I was more alive and awake as an actor because every part of me was up for grabs while he's filming. My mom will call 7 times in a row. She's that person. She's the one who thinks that like on time 6, you just like didn't see that she was calling. So she's just gonna keep calling.
We can see how she makes it all about herself, like in this clip where she was asked about her husband, but instead it made it all about her hair care line.
And then you turned around and you were just as supportive of Ryan. Yeah. What is it like to...
And my hair care company, Blake Brown, my goodness gracious. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy week.
And most of all, we can see how she is tone deaf to the theme of the movie and how little regard she seems to have for actual victims, as in this next clip.
This movie is going to affect people and they're going to want to tell you about their lives. So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could
No wonder her fans turned on her. And just like Johnny Depp's lawyers absolutely destroyed Amber Heard, Justin Baldoni's lawyer is gearing up to crush Blake Lively into oblivion, literally.
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megyn. Wait till you see this lawsuit.
Oh yeah, and fun fact, Megyn Kelly's lawyer is also representing Justin Baldoni. But as we've also mentioned at the start, all of this was not only a desperate attempt by Blake to save her own reputation, but right from the get-go, it may have been her evil master plan to steal Justin Baldoni's movie away from him. There are countless text messages between Justin and Blake, and between Justin and the producers and editors to prove this.
She used these allegations of sexual harassment, and she used these allegations of bullying to try and leverage her position so she could be the de facto director.
Justin Baldoni, who by the way was not only lead actor in the movie, but also the film's writer and director, seemed pretty stunned to learn that Blake had gone ahead and made her own director's cut of the film, and no one was allowed to see it.
For an executive producer to have a competing cut of a film is incredibly bizarre, but when she starts threatening people and saying, I'm not gonna promote the film, I'm not gonna do anything unless you use my cut, that's when it starts to be awfully incendiary.
And that's not all. Justin was also gobsmacked to learn that Blake's husband, Ryan Reynolds, actually had a part in writing some of the scenes, which is completely inappropriate, and no one even discussed it with Justin.
the iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you now.
And let's not forget that Justin was forced to the basement with his friends and family during the premiere of his own film.
Could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise. I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast.
Blake Lively was such a brat that her and Ryan Reynolds specifically requested during the premiere that they did not want him to attend his own.
This is just more proof that she wanted to steal the film and have the spotlight only on herself. But now the tables are slowly turning and things are looking real bleak for Blake because Justin's lawyer is ready to unpack a whole lot of evidence against her.
Documents actually don't lie, people do. And it's important that everyone sees all of the documents that are involved in the case because there are people that have been destroyed as a result of the allegations that have been made so far in this case.
So without further ado, here's just some of the lies we now know she's been telling. Blake accused Justin of invading her personal space and showing up uninvited when she was undressed or her infant baby. But newly leaked text messages really bring Blake's whole claim into question, because as we can clearly see from Blake's own personal communication with Justin, she actually invited him to her trailer while she was pumping milk for her baby. Here's the proof, clear as day as Blake's message reads. And clearly from Justin's reply, he wasn't in a hurry to rush over to her trailer while she may have been indecent, as he responded. But this shows us that Blake herself set the boundaries and what she was comfortable with.
She's just an example of how she loves to play the victim. And then the one about, oh, he burst in on me uninvited when I was breastfeeding my child. She says we should run lines together. He's like, anytime. And she's like, come on over. I'm breastfeeding the baby in the trailer, but come on over.
Yup, Blake accused lead producer and best friend of Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, of showing highly inappropriate and pornographic material to her. Blake explained the incident away as some truly horrific episode of her being harassed, but her lawsuit omitted some pretty crucial context. For instance, the fact that the movie script included a birthing scene, and the video that was shown to her by the producer was of his own wife giving birth.
Because when that, because so often we see births in movies and TV, and they just look so fake. It's like a 3-month-old baby that comes out of, and I just wanted it to feel very real.
And as we've since also learned, the footage was rather artistic and done with taste to capture the beauty of giving life. Nothing pornographic or harassing about it.
He showed her a still shot from his wife's delivery of their child, which I've also seen. You can't see any R-rated parts at all. It's actually a really lovely artistic photo.
Another gnarly accusation that Blake slung at Justin was that he made inappropriate comments about her weight and body, and that he basically fat-shamed her. The incident escalated so far that Ryan Reynolds even summoned Justin to his penthouse where he reportedly swore at him and scolded him. And Blake didn't only drag her husband into the mess, she reportedly also used Taylor Swift to manipulate and berate Justin. In more leaked messages, she threatened Justin, saying that she is the Grey Khaleesi from Game of Thrones and that Ryan and Taylor are her dragons. Just listen to how cringe it actually sounds when Megyn Kelly puts it into perspective.
She says we should run lines together. He's like, anytime. And she's like, come on over. I'm feeding the baby in the trailer, but come on over. Like, it's written there, black and white. She invited him in, and a lot of women are comfortable having someone around when they breastfeed, so it's not so weird, especially out in Hollywood, for him to assume, yeah, I guess she's fine with this because she did let him in. Ryan Reynolds comes off terribly. He had them over to their penthouse in New York, and Taylor Swift was believed to be there, according to this latest complaint. Not within the purview of an actress. And then after that, they have text messages in which Blake tells Justin, this is in the latest lawsuit, you know, I know you've never watched Game of Thrones, but when you get around to watching it, you'll realize I'm Khaleesi, and these are my dragons, and I have the best dragons in the business, right? Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
But y'all, maybe Blake never watched Game of Thrones to the end because if I remember correctly, things didn't end too well for her. Now did it?
I'm sorry, Blake Lively comparing herself to Khaleesi has to be one of the wildest cases of self-fulfilling prophecy I've seen to date. Like, everyone's making fun of her for saying that, but what's more Khaleesi than being a once beloved public figure who stood to win it all and lost it in a fiery rage? Like, no, like, it is giving twin. She's absolutely accurate. And just like in Game of Thrones, in the end, those dragons did not mean shit.
But okay, anyway, so yeah, Justin did go to his personal trainer and asked him, hey, how much does Blake weigh? Blake got wind of it and blew it out of proportion, once again. And as we've seen by now, there's a pattern of taking things out of context. Justin actually suffers from severe back issues, and there was a scripted scene in the film where he was supposed to lift Blake up. So it was absolutely crucial for Justin to know how much Blake weighs, to be sure that he doesn't hurt himself, or God forbid, hurt Blake. So there was no fat shaming or discussing Blake's body. He simply needed to know her weight to make sure that the scene could be done safely and correctly. But other leaked messages damned Blake's absurd accusation even more. Messages between Justin and Blake revealed just how supportive of her he was when she was worried about her body image after she had given birth. In one message, Justin reassured her, writing to her, another allegation making headlines is that there was apparently no intimacy coordinator present on set. And in case you don't know what an intimacy coordinator is,
an intimacy coordinator's job is to be there to facilitate the filming of existing and agreed upon intimacy, okay? They're there to basically like broker and manage consent and safety. That's what they're there for.
As per Blake's lawsuit, she claims there was no use of intimacy coordinators to observe intimate scenes, and that Mr. Baldoni improvised physical intimacy that had not been rehearsed, choreographed, or discussed with Miss Lively, with no intimacy coordinator involved. The only little issue here is that Blake's lawsuit kinda contradicts her own actual words, because here she's explaining in an interview that yes, they did hire an intimacy coordinator.
Chemistry with Justin also was off the chart. And Blake, you always have a vision. So talk to me about how sometimes you were even the intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes. Like we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have. Well, they could.
So which is it? If you're still a little on the fence on this one, then how about these actual text messages between Blake and Justin? To which Blake responds, doesn't seem like Blake was all that worried about whether there was an intimacy coordinator on set or not. And in several interviews, even long before Blake sued Justin, he praised Blake for how she took control of their intimate scenes. So it's not like he was trying to cover his own behind either.
Many instances where I honestly just tried to get out of the way and let her take the lead, and especially when it came to intimacy and all of that, like she had a very clear vision, and she was telling me what she thought would work and what she thought would be sexy.
Honestly, there were many instances on set where I just let the women figure it out, and I took a step back and kind of jumped in more as an actor in those scenes than even as a director.
And the cherry on the cake? Here's Blake caught on camera, clearly directing Justin and showing him how to pull her in and do a kissing scene. Judging by their body language, it looks like this is all Blake, and Justin's just along for the ride. Also in her lawsuit, Blake made reference to one scene in particular. Let's break it down point by point, because almost every single point she made backfired on her spectacularly. 1. On another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. 2. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character. Instead, he spoke to Miss Lively out of character as himself. himself. 3. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good." So Blake claimed there was no sound in the scene, right? That's great for her as it allows her to completely manipulate what's really happening in the scene. But sorry again, Blake. Justin's lawyer shared the actual footage from filming. And guess what? It has sound. And it once again proves that Blake was lying and twisting the truth. Now watch the original video for yourself and let us know in the comments. Does Justin come across as an absolute monster who's Blake every step of the way? Or is it looking more like Blake tried to play the victim, but it backfired? And by the way, Blake was also acting out of character, not just Justin. For goodness sake, they were talking about their spouses at one point. Hardly anything uncomfortable or harassing. And pay special attention to the part where Justin says, "It smells good," because it's way more innocent than Blake made it out to be. Here's just a few seconds of the 10-minute clip.
I'm not getting beard on you today.
I'm probably getting quite fast too.
It smells good.
Well, it's not bad. It's my body.
And here's another kicker. Blake's lawsuit said that, and I quote, "Nothing needed to be said because, again, there was no sound." But oops, Blake. Isn't this Blake herself telling Justin that they should talk in the scene? So yeah, I'd love to hear what you all make of this insanity. And the plot twist? Goodness me, you won't believe this. Blake has now slammed Justin Baldoni and his lawyer with a gag order to stop them from publishing any and all text messages or other evidence against her. Heaven forbid Justin defends himself. But here's the kicker.
Now that she's had her shot against him and she's severely damaged him with that New York Times piece and this complaint, which she managed to get leaked, now she wants a complete gag order. Poor Blake. Why should Justin be able to release snippets to the media without the full context? That's what she said. That's what she did.
So what do you guys make of all this? I suppose the question is a simple one. Has Blake been lying all along and been playing the victim? And now her supposed evidence is blowing up in her face? All thanks to Justin Baldoni and Megyn Kelly's lawyer? Or is there really some truth to her claims and she is really a victim in all of this after all? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, hit that subscribe and notification buttons. And make sure to check out more of our videos as we cover the hottest celebrity news.